It's the Growler with BD and J. Here to analyze for you today. From Growler Bet to Jay's got stats. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Growler Podcast.
All right. Welcome into the latest edition of PD and J on the Growler. Paul Daniel Jr. here. Happy to say back with my guy, Jay Morrison. Good to have you back, Jay. What's going on?
It's great to be back. I really appreciate all the kind messages from everybody. I hope my return to action goes better than Bill Belichick's did last night. It would be hard to be worse, but I will do my best to step right back in seamlessly.
Now, did you know there was Reddit rumors about you, Jay? Like, did they phase Jay out?
No.
Did they kick him off the show? People had to step in on Reddit. You know it's real, Jay.
Wow.
When the Reddit is making stuff up about you. Reddit was like, look, we think they're phasing Jay out. Like, and someone pops in like, no, there was like literal conversation. Jay even talked about it. Like, stop it with this, okay?
That's why I put that out there, because I didn't want people wondering, where is he for 2 weeks?
That's right.
So I thought I was going to hold that off, but I guess not. Some people.
You can't hold off the internet rumor mill, Jay.
True.
It's impossible to do, but great to have you back.
Yes.
And just in the nick of time, because we have a massive show, one of our biggest shows that we do. It is sort of our season predictions show. We're going all in on it, right? We're going to talk about all of the things that are going to matter this year. We're going to have some of your superlatives. We're going to talk about potential Pro Bowlers, new Pro Bowlers, Rookie of the Year, who's going to be the X-Factor on this team. Some of the stuff you're going to hear from some of the people, some of the reasons why maybe we're believing it could go one way or the other. You'll hear from Dan Pitcher, offensive coordinator. You will hear from I got a good one for you. I got a good one for you, that something that was said yesterday to me in the locker room that had me wondering. Also, Mo Egger is going to join us, and we are going to get bigger into our official season predictions for the year, records, playoffs, what's going to happen, will they win the North, why would that happen? Lord, I can't control where Mo's going to go with this, as you all know, but we are going to have many prompts to set him up to see where it ends up. And then, of course, all the things that you come to expect from us. Jay's got stats, Jay's got trivia. He's going to try to stump me.
Yeah.
We got a growler bet for you, and the most adorable ARBIES maybe of all time for you today. So all that coming your way. But also, don't forget, the big show is almost here, Jay. Thursday, 7 o'clock, down at BetMGM in Tom's Watch Bar at the Banks. I've been down there a couple of times now. Was down there testing out the equipment last week. Went there before the Reds game on Friday. Such a fun setup. They've kind of reconfigured things where I think it's going to be a ton more fun when you come down there. A little bit more interactive. We're going to be right in the mix of all y'all, and I'm really excited about it. 1 million TVs. I don't think you could possibly put more TVs inside of Tom's Watch Bar. They're pretty serious about that title there. It's going to be great. We're going to have myself, Joe and Jeremy from Fox are going to be there. Excited about that. Kelsey Conway, Richard Skinner, our crew, Jay, Charlie, Mark Shalafou. It's a cast of stars. Honestly, there's just going to be a lot of us, is all I'm going to say. And we're going to be talking about takes, predictions, things we're hearing. We're going to offer for you guys. If you guys have questions for us, we're going to play Sports or Consequences in honor of Gary Burbank.
Oh, yes. 4
Bengals tickets. You're going to see if you can stump us. And we really want to say, we don't mess around. Hey, is really what that's all about. But we're going to have Bengals Jaguars tickets that we're giving away. Our good friends at Graders are going to have some free ice cream if you can get there in time before they run out. That's always the key there on that one. We're going to have special parlay boosts that you can only get there. We're going to boost things from Cowboys Eagles, because we're leading you right up to that game that night, and the Bengals opener, and futures. You can only get them if you come down to the live show in person. Can you get those special parlay boosts through BetMGM? So make sure you come down there for that Burrow jersey giveaway, all kinds of other stuff. It is just going to be a massive show. We love doing it. One of our favorites, 7 o'clock Thursday, BetMGM and Tom's Watch Bar down at the Banks. Come on down and see us.
I mean, tickets and a Burrow jersey. That we are ramping up the giveaways this year.
Oh, yeah. You are going to get tickets to the next home game, or be able to get tickets to the next home game at every single live show we do this year down at BetMGM and Tom's Watch Bar. So hopefully you'll come see us down there. We would love to have you. All right. On that note, let's tick through some news real quick. Captains yesterday, Jay, were announced. We had Captain Joe Burrow, Orlando Brown, Ted Karras, Jamar Chase, first-time captain. Of course, he's kind of unofficially wore the C last year, I would say, but he gets that officially this year. 4 offensive captains. And then, of course, they cleaned out anybody that was even partially responsible for last year's defense, including captains. And so you have 3 new captains on the defensive side of the ball with Logan Wilson, B.J. Hill, and Captain Trey. It happened.
Yeah.
Trey Hendrickson. Any surprise in that for you, Jay?
Trey surprises me because obviously he didn't participate the entire offseason, held in, and people are like, yeah, he's a great player, though. But there was precedence for this. And I kind of wrote about it yesterday that in 2021, Jesse Bates was a captain. In 2022, he was not, because he did not sign the franchise tag. He did not participate in the whole offseason. He didn't come back until late August. It was held against him. The players did not bring him back as a captain. This isn't not bringing a guy back. This is making him a captain for the very first time on the heels of a prolonged hold-in. I get what Trey means to this team. I think it says more about the turnover on defense than it does about Trey. I think if you'd had a couple captains back from last year, they would have just rolled them back over. But having all of last year's defensive captains gone, Von Bell, Sam Hubbard, and Jermaine Pratt, it made it easier to vote for Trey. And he is deserving. He does mean a lot to that team and on the field, in the locker room, and all that. But it's also unique because you would think, okay, this is the second year in a row they've had 4 first-time captains. That screams team void of leadership, but that's not the case. There's a lot of there's a lot of great players and there's a lot of leaders in that room, and I think that's why you see it kind of turn over and change. But last year, Orlando Brown, Jermaine Pratt, Akeem Davis-Gaither, Evan McPherson, all first-time captains. Now again this year, 4 first-time captains. But the Trey thing is the one that surprised me the most, just because of the way the offseason went.
Yeah, I think it's kind of virtue of all of these young defensive players that have had roller coaster starts to their career. It's like Cam Taylor-Britt could be a cap. Dax Hill could be a player who becomes a captain. Jordan Battle could be a player who becomes a captain. Chris Jenkins, we talked about him as a future captain. He's still young, but like, all of these guys are guys they drafted with this idea of they could be something like that by now, or growing into that. And then none of them really have. And that's so much the story of this defense, is how many of these players are going to grow into their expectations. I think the Trey Hendrickson thing and B.J. Hill, to a certain extent, they went with the veterans that were there, because I don't think any of those young players that could have grown into those roles have yet. And maybe next year is the year that happens. Maybe next year you're talking about 3 defensive captains who are all some of these young defensive players that we've talked about needing to take the leap. Maybe that's the case. I think in an ideal scenario it is, because they need those guys to come along. Other news, the guard battle, right guard battle, is still getting the shrug treatment of, I don't know. They're comfortable. Dan Pitcher says they're comfortable with all 3 guys: Lucas Patrick, rookie 5th-round pick Jalen Rivers, and Dalton Reisner, to potentially be the starter, or comfortable with them as the backup. I think Lucas Patrick, how tough is what he's working through, is part of the question here. Jalen Rivers, do you really want to send 2 rookie guards out there week 1? Reisner, is he up to speed? Can he get up to speed fast enough to play in essentially a week and some change? I don't know. So I think all of those are kind of part of the equation, and it'll reveal itself here soon enough. They don't want to be playing a rotation. They don't want to be like trying guys series to series. They want 5 guys out there. to me, it's over the next month, this is going to work itself out. It's the game to game. There's going to be a guy. If Lucas Patrick goes out there in the opener and he stinks, I'd expect Dalton Reisner to be the guy in week 2 and vice versa. And then at some point, if they both stink, you're going to see Jalen Rivers. And then they're going to hope to find somebody that sticks and be able to ride that player at that position for the rest of the year. But I think that's that's where it sits right now. My gut says Lucas Patrick probably in the opener, just by virtue of he's just been around so long. He brings the most stability immediately that he ends up being the guy. But we'll learn more probably in the matter of hours here at the depth chart.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't see, now that the regular season is here, we only watch about a half hour of practice, but whenever they were doing any kind of rotation, whether it's individual drills or whatever, it was Lucas Patrick yesterday. So that would be my assumption too. The Dalton Reisner thing, it's one of the biggest damned if you do, damned if you don't for the Bengals, because if he goes in there and struggles, it's like, what are you doing? Why was this not addressed sooner? And if he goes in there and plays well, it's like, this guy's been sitting there since all year. Why did you not go get him in March? Why? So it'd be really interesting to see if they do end up landing on him, and maybe they will. I'm with you. I think it's Lucas Patrick in Cleveland. If he struggles week 2, there could be a flip already.
All right, now it's time for the Camargo Insurance Run, Pass, or Boot. There's our guy, Josh, the judge and jury of all things RPB. Got the RPB robe, the gavel. He has decided which were the best RPBs sent to him this week. If you want your run, pass, or boot question sent in, send it to Josh at CamargoInsurance.com, and he will decide which one's the best and give it to us. By now, you should know Josh with Camargo, fellow listener for a decade plus. He's the judge and jury. When you work with Josh at Camargo for your insurance, it's a true concierge experience, real one-on-one help from someone who gets it. He works with all the best carriers in the industry so you can find perfect coverage for your home, auto, business, or life insurance needs. And he's such a good dude. He is giving back to the Growl Pals. We love him for that. He's giving away 2 tickets to Bengals Ravens, the home game. You want to go? Here's how you do it. All you got to do is request the free, no obligation quote. No policy purchase is necessary to enter or win. Then you're entered for a chance to win some seats. And maybe more importantly, also make sure your coverage actually makes sense. It's easy to do. It's quick to do. There's a link to enter in the episode notes or in the QR code on YouTube, finding all those places. Or you can just send him a message, Josh at CamargoInsurance.com, and he'll get you set up there. So if you're ready for insurance, it's simple, personal, and handled by someone who's a trusted Growl Pal. Reach out to Josh at Camargo. Okay, this week's RPB that he chose is from Lawrence B. Lawrence Bissig. Sorry if I didn't get that exactly right, Lawrence. He says, which one of these scenarios is most likely to happen in week 1? The Bengals defense prevents the Browns from scoring a touchdown. The Browns defense prevents the Bengals offense from scoring a touchdown. The Bengals offensive line performs a miracle and holds Myles Garrett to no sacks and no pressures in week 1. Jay, what is your run, pass, or boot?
All 3 of these are crazy talk. So that makes it a good run, pass, or boot, Lawrence. That makes it hard. It's if it had been held Myles Garrett without a sack alone, I might have run with that one, but without a pressure either, that's my boot right off the bat. I guess I have to run with the Bengals holding the Browns offense just because of what the Browns offense is, holding them without a touchdown, without an offensive touchdown. As bad as this Bengals defense has been, there is still a little bit of optimism, hope, the fresh start, Al Golden, all that. That's far more likely than the Browns holding Joe Burrow. I mean, it did happen a couple years ago, and with 24-3, but it was raining. It's not going to rain Sunday, so you don't even have to worry about that. I mean, and then that was Burrow coming off of an issue that it's totally different this year. No way that they held the Bengals without an offensive touchdown. That I'll run with holding the Browns without offensive touchdown. I'll pass on holding the Bengals without an offensive touchdown, and I'll boot holding Myles Garrett without a sack or pressure. I can't see that happen. As soon as we finish recording, I'm gonna go look up how many games he has gone without having a single pressure. I know he's only had, I think, 40 games period without a sack, without a pressure. I bet that's single digits.
Jay, you know I'm already on top of you on that one.
Okay, all right.
The last time Myles Garrett was held without a single pressure in a game, was week 2 of 2021. Week 2 of 2021. Now, last year, week 7, only one.
Yeah.
The Bengals held him to only 1 pressure, no sacks last year in week 7. So keep that in mind. So there's some precedent. That's the boot. There's no doubt. I mean, 2021, week 2. That was Jamar's second game complaining about how they needed to throw the ball to him more already. One of my favorites in Chicago. I'm with you. Same exact thing. Even though the last time they had an opener there, the Bengals offense didn't score a touchdown. And there have been plenty of hiccups and problems for this Bengals offense against the Browns. I'm with you. I still think that's what the big 3 are. All right. Remember, if you want to win Bengals Ravens tickets at Paycor Stadium, the giveaway form is in the show notes. You can email Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. It's just real quick. It takes 2 minutes. You get the no obligation quote. No policy purchase is necessary. Then you're entered for a chance to see Burrow versus Lamar, man. Your odds are going to be great. Can't recommend it enough. That's Josh at CamargoInsurance.com for your RPBs. Send those in, and we'll debate them next week. All right, now we are going to bring in our good friend and yours from ESPN 1530, Mo Egger. Mo, welcome to Game Week. We made it.
We made it. Pretty exciting. I know this is an audio medium for many, but this is on YouTube, and I'm sure your audience notices something different about me today, that like Trey Hendrickson, I have been given a captaincy. Yeah, we had a vote. I was surprised they did it over Labor Day weekend. I've been named one of iHeartMedia's captains. So
yeah,
been one of this for a long time, man. So here it is. I got the captaincy on my chest. We have more captains than the Bengals do. They only have 7. I think this year we're going with 15 different captains.
15 captains. I'm going to say I've been inside of your guys' offices a lot, almost every Tuesday for a while now. I didn't know 15 people worked there.
Well, that's what's interesting about it is we're sort of own captains of our own ship. But this is the first time I've been a captain. I get the C on my chest, so it's pretty exciting.
Are you running on your own gas?
Running on my own gas. I was going to hold out. I was going to not come to work if I wasn't named a captain. So fortunately, cooler heads prevailed, and I got the captaincy.
I saw a tweet where you defended the WEBN fireworks soundtrack. That's
go.
how you become a captain. Team player.
I didn't have. I'm going to try to thread the needle here. I didn't defend the soundtrack. I thought the soundtrack was fine. I know what theme they were going for. It was the Boomsday musical. My point was, people that I work with, in all seriousness, put a ton of time and effort and energy into that event, and I stand there and watch fireworks. So my tweet was commending my coworkers for a job well done, and that soundtrack, I don't think folks have any idea how much work goes into that in terms of synchronization with the fireworks. And so I will always have my coworkers back in that regard, which is why I've got a captaincy on my chest.
You've earned it. There's no doubt. All right, let's do this. How would beating the Browns, Mo, change your opinion of the 2025 Bengals? We have spent so much time talking about fast start.
Yeah.
Fast. Oh my God, don't do it again, right? And like last year's scar tissue from opening an orange is still here. Cleveland's got some scar tissue of its own. Would it change anything about your opinion about this year's Bengals team if they go up and beat, what some people consider potentially the worst team in football?
Depends on how they do it. If they eke by, if it's, well, let's say they win a shootout, right? And Burrow somehow outlasts Joe Flacco and outduels him, and they win some sort of like 38-35 just shootout. Well, then we're all going to talk about, they won, but how bad's that defense going to be when it's playing against better offenses? If they spin their tires offensively and somehow eke out like a I don't know, 16-14 win, I think there's going to be more conversations about not when will this offense get going, but why are they so sluggish to start games when this was the offseason where Joe Burrow had a normal training camp, normal offseason, all the main guys played in the preseason. I think if they go out there and win emphatically and win convincingly on the road against the Cleveland Browns, which is something they haven't done a lot of, then yeah, for me at least, it'll change the conversation just a little bit. Like I think they have a chance, as cliche as it sounds, make a little bit of a statement, right? Okay, the one game isn't going to clear out all the questions people have about their defense, but if they go out there and come close to pitching a shutout and, do what you're supposed to do against an offense that isn't great, I think a lot of us will perk up, and I think a lot of us will at least start to consider the possibility that, this defense long term may be pretty good. I obviously, at the end of the day, you just want a one under the letter W, and that in itself would be a sharp departure from what we've seen in recent years. But for me, I'm as interested in the how as I am the what or the why. I don't know what I'm saying here, but I'm as interested in how they play as I am in the result they achieve. I sort of assume they're going to beat the Browns because they're awful. And I think when you have Joe Burrow in a game like this, they'll figure out a way to score one more point than Cleveland. But I'm kind of interested in what it looks like and in how they do it. And that will affect how I feel about their season and their team moving forward.
What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, for me, it won't mean anything only because I already expect them to go win that game. I expect them to change a lot of narratives this year. So that it won't change how I think about this team because they will be doing exactly what I expect. And that Mo's right. If they go up there and the defense plays well, you start having faith that they can get this defense right. If they've struggled to beat Cleveland, period, forget about slow starts and the opener a couple years ago. They've struggled to win in Cleveland. They get that off their back. There's just, I've seen enough in training camp, and it doesn't feel like lip service that this is different. They are going to be able to start fast. Joe Burrow's healthy. That's a big part of it. So I don't think it's going to change anything for me, regardless of how they win this game. I expect them to win. I expect them to start the season fast. I expect the defense to be better. I expect this to be a different season for this team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'll fast forward this. I think it would marginally. I'm kind of with you, Mo. I think how it looks. The Browns play these muck it up games. Like think of Week 7 last year. It was like, does the Bengals defense look good and the offense was sluggish? Like I think there's a good chance that it looks like that. And we talk about it that way. So that winning is kind of all that really matters for Week 1. I think we judge more fast start, all that stuff by what does this look like at the end of September? So my question to you is, Mo, what is the Bengals record at the end of September?
So here's how I frame this. This is you put a gun to my head and I have to wager an amount of money that matters to me. What is their record going to be, right? What am I most comfortable predicting? I'm most comfortable predicting 2-2.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much more than I need to see before I really believe it. Look, at the end of the season, I think they're going to finish 10-7. I don't know if I jump too far ahead. If so, I'll do a Barry Larkin and rip the captaincy off. But I know Minnesota has all sorts of offensive questions right now. And, is J.J. McCarthy going to be the guy? Is he going to be better than Sam Darnold last year? That's still not going to be a very easy game. My colleague Tony Pike expresses some reservations about playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Going on the road at Denver is not going to be easy at all. So I feel like they're going to be 2-2. There is the track record of slow starts. There are questions about the Bengals defense going in. I don't know how you could, again, wager an amount of money that matters to you. I don't know how you could wager on them being better than 500. I will be unsurprised if they're 3-1. I would be pretty damn surprised if they're 1-3. I would be shocked if they're 4-0, pleasantly shocked if they're 4-0. And so to me, the most likely outcome with 3 on the road, the history of slow starts, questions about the defense, they're going to be possibly underdogs against Minnesota, probably underdogs against Denver. I think the safest bet is that the Bengals are even going into October.
I'm going 3-1. I think this is a different team. I'd be really surprised if they're not 2-0. I don't know if I'm looking at that loss being Minnesota or Denver. If it's Minnesota, I think they do bounce back at Denver. If they start 3-0 against Minnesota, that's the not perfect, but that's the likely letdown. Going to a playoff team in Denver in prime time on Monday night, that will be a tough task. I think this team is different. I know Brian Flores, Minnesota's awesome on defense. I just don't know if JJ McCarthy and that offense can keep up with even the Bengals offense, even against Flores in that group. I don't think Denver scares you either as a shootout game. If this offense is hitting the ground running and playing the way we expect, I think they can outscore any of these teams. And again, I'd be really surprised if it's not 2-0. And you get to 2-0, you feel really good about going 1-1 in the next two games.
I just think, the slow start thing this year is going to be about this defense. This is going to take time. This defense is going to cost them a game they probably should have won in September. I don't know which one it is. I don't know why. They're just going to. And then you take in a schedule that feels like a toss-up on a couple of them, certainly those road games. And I look at 2-2 as the most likely result. Anything above that, you're feeling like now the season feels different, which was the question I asked about the Cleveland game. I think the season feels different if this team comes out of September 3-1, 4-0, because so much they have put. Forget us. We know we have beaten that conversation about fast start to a pulp. They have too. They have not denied that. They have talked about it at every point. They have changed the way they do everything. We just got done talking to Dan Pitcher about how we've done all of these things different. It has felt different. That was on purpose. There was an emphasis. Everything that they've done over the last month was about making it feel different so that September can look different. So if it does, I think that's a real momentum that this team, knowing what they normally play like at the end of the year and who they have and what they probably had to do defensively to make that happen, you start talking about them very differently. And so I'm interested to see if that happens. But to me, I'm not ready to go there yet because I just think the defense is going to take time and probably cost them a game or two. And that's why I have them at 2-2.
My biggest wish for October 1 is we're not doing playoff math in October, right? Because the last few years, that's been it, right? It's, even go back to 2022 when they ripped off, 8 straight wins to end the season. In October, it was, okay, God, they got 12 games to go. Okay, can they get to 8-4 those final? I mean, last year, God knows we did it all year long. For me, my biggest wish is in October, we're looking at the standings wondering, okay, what's it going to take for Baltimore to catch them? Or what's it going to take for Pittsburgh to catch them? Or, all right, now they've built in a little margin for error down the stretch that if they lose a game, it's not a nail in the coffin. I framed it that way. On October 1, I don't want to have to be, doing the math. Okay, they've got to get to. Is 10 wins going to do it? Okay? They got to get to 10. All right. Well, that means they're going to have to go. Well, let's see. 8-5. The rest is 8-5. I don't want to do that. So my sincere wish is on October 1st. That Wednesday, when the calendar turns after they've played the Broncos, that I'm doing no math. And really, it's a goal of mine in general, day-to-day, to do no math.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Mo, Bengals win the AFC North if what?
If the defense is slightly better than league average. Everybody has set the bar as they've got to be league average. To me, better than league average isn't so much, and I'm going to sort of jump ahead and answer what I know you're going to ask next, which is what is my biggest concern. So I'm going to do both here. My biggest concern is in the fourth quarter of games, even if the defense has played well, that when the game is on the line, they can't get a stop or they can't get a turnover or they can't get the ball back to Joe Burrow trailing by a score. If they do those things, they not only can win the AFC North, my guess is they do. If they have a defense that in big moments, and we'll be able to measure this statistically, that when the game is hanging in the balance, they get a stop more often than not, overwhelmingly so more often than not, then number one, I think they will have achieved league average or better than league average status. Number two, they'll win those games that at times last year they could not win. When the defense needed to get a stop last year, especially against good teams, they didn't get it done. I know those last 5 games were an exception to that, but against real teams with real quarterbacks, with the game on the line, can Al Golden's unit rise to the occasion? And if they do, we know what this offense is capable of. In my opinion, they have the best quarterback in the NFL. They have a ridiculous assortment of weapons. They have a lot of ways they can beat you offensively. I have zero concerns about the skill players, the quarterback. I'm even drinking some of the Kool-Aid as it relates to the offensive line. I want to know, in the fourth quarter of games, can the defense do what it needs to do to close out games or give Joe Burrow a chance to do Joe Burrow things? And if on a consistent basis they do those things, they win the division. And then, we're just going to start talking about them in like real championship terms again.
I feel good about the chance of them doing that with just what we've seen from Shamar and with Trey Hendrickson back. That pass rush is going to be better. You think that would make the secondary better. I do think that they are going to be able to do that to close out games. For me, to win the AFC North, it's a one-game season. If they win Thanksgiving night in Baltimore, they win the AFC North. They got to prove they can beat Lamar. They've got to beat Baltimore, period. They can win Thursday. They can win Thanksgiving night in Baltimore and lose to the Ravens at home. I still feel the same way. You just have to get that win in Baltimore. I think everything else takes care of itself. That is the big hurdle right now. And it's not like Baltimore's just owned them and blown them out. There have been so many chances, so many close games. And I think that even makes it more of a problem where you're right there and you just can't get over that hump. And just all the complaining, the public complaining they did about having to go to Baltimore again on a short week in prime time. I think they win that game. The rest of the season, the other 16 games take care of themselves. They win the AFC North.
Yeah, if they're a team capable of winning that game, that might be the toughest task in football this year, is going into Baltimore on Thanksgiving night and getting a win. I mean, draw me up a tougher task. Baltimore looks like the absolute class of the league right now. And I don't, if they're capable of doing that, and we know that they are capable, we've certainly seen how close they've come. Every Baltimore game has looked the same in recent years. It's been this one play here, one play there. If they are capable, then I agree with you. My thing, if the Bengals win the AFC North, if Baltimore has terrible luck or sustains injuries, I just think they are a step above. I think Baltimore's roster is a tier above. They have an equally dynamic offense. Their defense from the second year with Zach Orr and all the momentum they built and the players they went out and signed and added there is superior to the Bengals right now. That doesn't mean it doesn't change quickly. That doesn't mean that all the variables of a season don't shift something to the Bengals. But I think it has to be some form of bad luck to happen to the Ravens for the Bengals to join them on that tier right now. Personally, I just think they're a little bit better team on paper. That can look different. They can beat them in the playoffs, but that's how I see. So for me, I think that's the way that the Bengals win the North. They obviously have to be better in a lot of things that we'll talk about, but I think Baltimore has to have some things go wrong because they have really set themselves up very well right now.
I think it goes without saying that game could and probably will go a long way toward determining who wins the AFC North. What I want to know is, like last year, the Bengals went to Baltimore 4-5. So they had to win that game. I mean, it was like they were fighting for their playoff lives. 2 years ago, they went to Baltimore 5-4, but they had lost the previous week to Houston. And so there was this, all right, if they're going to be contenders in the AFC North, like what I want to know is how much is going to hinge on that game. Have they built enough margin for error that if they take a loss, it doesn't doom their chances of winning the AFC North, and it doesn't just deliver a death blow to their playoff chances? It comes back to the fast start. It comes back to that gauntlet of teams weeks 3 through 7 where they play playoff teams every single week. The Baltimore game, and it was different 2 years ago because in it Joe Burrow got hurt, and then, championship hopes up in smoke. But like last year when they lost that game, it wasn't about the AFC North. It was about that's loss number 6. And again, playoff math, it was earlier in the season. So, yes, that Baltimore game looms huge. It might be the most difficult task in all of football this year to go there on a short week again in prime time and win. But what I want to know is what sort of cushion will they have built, if any, and what stakes will be on the line for the Bengals in that game? Is it, hey, if they lose, they pull even with the Ravens? If they win, now they win the head-to-head tiebreaker because they get a win at home against them? Is it, boy, they lost, and now they're 2 games out of the 7th spot, and we're doing playoff odds again? I want to know what their record is going into that Baltimore game, maybe more than anything.
Jay, what is your what are you worried about most? Mo just kind of touched on his. What are you worried about most with this team?
It's offensive line depth. I mean, it's not good. And history, I mean, the Bengals did it a couple of years ago where they had all 5 offensive linemen start every game. You can't count on that. There's going to be injuries. They're a couple injuries away from this offensive line looking closer to the 2021 offensive line than anything that makes you feel comfortable. And you think about it, on the Bengals.com site right now, they have on their depth chart, they have no backup listed at 2 of the offensive line positions. On ESPN.com, left tackle Orlando Brown, no other 2 on the 2 deep. It's just,
So what happens if they get hurt? Do they just go with an empty spot there?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Garbage
obviously Cody Ford jumps in there, but he's not listed
Ford,
there right now, and it's just it's dicey. I mean, yeah, you would feel good with Cody Ford for a start or 2, but if it's long term, some of those other positions we don't. I mean, Dalton Reisner was unsigned for this long for a reason. Lucas Patrick has injury problems. I don't know. They really need health on that offensive line. More than anything else, more than a huge leap by the defense, more than, I mean, maybe not more than Joe Burrow staying healthy, but all these other things that have plagued them in the past, that is the key, because if there's injuries on that offensive line, this whole thing could fall apart.
Hey, that 2021 bad offensive line did end up in the Super Bowl.
You're right.
So
then lost it because
that's not the way this team is constructed, though. Where I don't, you know what I mean. I understand. I do agree with you. I do agree with you on that. That's a worst case scenario, because I think one of the worries you probably have that you don't want to say out loud is that Joe Burrow gets hurt again, right? Because that has been something that has been around. You know, you had the full year last year, but it's still part of his story until you add more seasons and disconnect him from some of the freakishness of the stuff that got him hurt, right? You are concerned about, and that goes directly back to your point. If you end up in a situation where you say they didn't invest in having better depth on their offensive line and it got Joe Burrow hurt again, the entire organization is indicted in that, because they could have been more aggressive in that and they weren't. That is very real. My answer to this, though, is going to be that the one bet they did make defensively, one critical bet they made, does not pan out. If the young DBs do not become a strength of this defense, they are toast. They have bet on these guys: Dax Hill, Cam Taylor-Britt, DJ Turner, Josh Newton, all guys with problems, all guys with issues, all guys they drafted high. And they said, we're not adding to this room. We believe in this room. And I'll throw in Geno Stone and Jordan Battle in that conversation too. We believe in this group. Al Golden, day one, the first thing I saw was these guys are good. We don't need to add there. Well, I can live with everything else they have defensively between their trying with Shamar and Miles, and I'm going to buy some of the Chris Jenkins is really taking a leap stuff, and Trey Hendrickson is back, and Demetrius Knight is a solid guy next to Logan Wilson. I'm going to buy all of that. The question to me is those guys, that bet. And if it doesn't happen, it is last year's defense. Again, it is 9-8, 8-9. One of these teams, the defense is costing them every week. It's Joe Burrow pissed off on the sideline. It's Zach Taylor on the hot seat. So much of this comes back to that bet. That would be my biggest concern about this team, is that there's no track record to say that that's going to pan out. It is strictly hope and career arc that Al can get it out of these guys. That's a concern.
When the season ended last year, we said, God, you know what? They probably could use some help at safety. And then free agency got here, and we went, you know what? Safety would be a position that they should probably take a look at. And then when the draft got here, it was, which safeties might make the best fit? And then after the draft, it was, oh, don't worry, cut down day. There's going to be like 1,000 safeties out there. Now what? Because they didn't get any during any of those times. And I'm really fearful that some of these things that that we talked about a year ago that they really didn't completely address are eventually going to come back to get them. And then we're going to spend the second half of the season revisiting why there was so much inactivity in so many different areas. It reminds me of the Reds where in March we were already talking about what they might do at the trade deadline and wondering why did this offseason feel incomplete. And whenever they've gone through a rough stretch, specifically on offense, I've come back to the offseason going, well, we said they needed a bat, and look, hey, they needed a bat, or they needed an outfielder, and they're trying third baseman and shortstops out there in the outfield. Gee, didn't see that coming. I fear, whether it be on the offensive line with depth, whether it be in the secondary, we're going to go back to what we were saying at the end of last year, that they needed to address these positions. And at safety in particular is, to a degree, bewildering to me. And I know they've shown faith in Geno Stone to the degree that you could show faith in someone that you're asking to take a pay cut, and maybe Jordan Battle ends up being awesome. I don't know. But at so many mileposts of the offseason, it was, here's where they get a safety, and they never did. So, yeah, that terrifies me. At that position in particular, and then all the bets they're making on the corners they have. But that position in particular, like, you spend 9 months talking about how here's where they're going to address the position, and they don't, and I'm suddenly supposed to believe, you know what, safety play is going to be just fine? That stretches credibility as far as I'm concerned.
Have you guys seen PJ Jules?
Yeah.
Yes.
There it is. There's your breakout player, Jay.
There's their
breakout
addition.
player.
Yeah.
The PJ Jules season is what we end up calling this. All right. Final record prediction. Mo, you said yours. Jay, what do you got?
I am going to do playoff math, because when I was putting this together and I said 3-1 to start the season, like I was kind of in the 10-7 camp, and then I was like, well, wait, if they're going 3-1, they're not going 7-5 after that. So, and even 11-6, 12-5, I'm going 12-5. If they start 3-1, I think 12-5 is a realistic expectation down the stretch. The way this team plays, the way they get it together mid-season and hit the ground running, not hit the ground running, pick it up, make up for slow starts, whatever it is, they get it figured out in the second half of the season, year after year after year, when Burrow's healthy. I just think a fast start and a fast finish. They go 12-5 this year, and I think they make a run. I don't know how far we want to go into this, but I think they make a run into the playoff. I see them reaching the AFC Championship game. I can't go Super Bowl, but I think they win a couple playoff games. They get to that AFC Championship game. What we talked about last year, if that team, as bad as the defense was, if they just got into the playoffs, nobody was going to want to play them. I think if they go 12-5, they get in the playoffs, it's the same thing. Nobody's going to want to play this team. There's a real shot at them making a run if they get in the playoffs. I think everybody expects them to get into the playoffs. I don't expect them to squeak in. I expect them to get in pretty solidly 12-5.
I like them better to win games in January, maybe, than I do to get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love Joe Burrow in January. I love the makeup of this team if they were good enough to make it in there. The question to me is, can they get their act together defensively to the point that they can get there? So I have them 10-7, with those Baltimore swing games being the difference between 10-7 and your 12-5. Because I just don't think that they're there with Baltimore yet. And a lot can change, but I like them when they get there. So my playoff prediction is that they win a game and then lose in the divisional round. But I think they're a menace in the playoffs. Yeah. I think that they're frightening. I think Burrow and everything that this team can be, and that they know that they have been historically that time of year, is an absolute problem for the rest of the AFC. They just have to be good enough to get in there. And that will come back to how many games does this defense cost them, and how healthy can their stars stay, because they're so top heavy. We know that. I mean, that big four of their highest paid guys, odds say they're not all going to be able to stay healthy. And if they don't, how long are they out? How big of an impact does that have? What is the ripple effect down the roster? Can they get there? I like them better if they get there.
Yeah.
But for now, I have 10-7. What are you thinking as far as postseason, Mo?
So I was asked on Sunday at the exhilarating Western and Southern WEBN fireworks with the Boomsday musical soundtrack. I was asked by a gentleman, what do I think? And I said 10-7, and I thought the guy was going to throw a drink in my face. And I thought, we are now to a point where 10-7 sounds pessimistic. And I get, the point was it's just one game better than last year, but it's really not. They were 4-8, and then went on this miraculous run against bad QBs. And so I sort of disregard they have to be more than one game better than last year, because while they were 9-8, it was a hard to get to 9-8. I sort of mirror yours, Paul. I think they're 10-7, and I think we spent a lot of time talking about how, boy, that's not a guy you want coming into your stadium as a home favorite, right? And I think they win a playoff game. What would be interesting to me, though, is let's say the scenario that you and I think is going to take place does unfold, where they're 10-7, which is probably not going to win the AFC North. They're in as the 6th seed. They go somewhere, win a playoff game, lose in the divisional round. How are we going to process that? Right? Is that going to feel like a success? I think you will have folks who are listening to this or watching this who will say yes. And I think you'll have folks who go, championship window means not even getting to the conference championship game isn't good enough. But that's kind of where I think they are. I agree with what you said. I trust them more in January with Joe Burrow going into any stadium in the league against any defense in the league. I am not betting against them. Can they get there? Can they, if you tell me this team is in the postseason with any record, any seed, any opponent, any venue, I'm taking my chances. But I also don't think that's how you talk about a championship team. I think that's how you talk about a team that can make some noise in January, or a team that's going to be a tough out in January. What I hope happens over the course of the next 4 months is we go from talking about the Bengals in those terms to talking about them in specific championship terms, where it's, you know what? You don't want to have to go to Paycor Stadium, or you know what? If the Bengals can do this, they can be the 1 seed. Like, we're not there yet. And that's what I hope changes over the course of the next few months, that we go from talking about how they would be a tough out in January to the team that is maybe the odds-on favorite. And it feels like to go from where they are to there is quite a leap. And I have skepticism that they can make that leap.
I'll tie it back to the beginning of this conversation. I think by the end of this month, you could be talking about them that way. If they're 3-1, if they're 4-0, certainly you will feel very different about that part of the conversation that you're talking about. No, I think they have a chance, a real chance, by the way, everything's set up and who they are, to immediately grab the NFL by the collar, if you will, and say, we're real. And because if they do, that momentum will be significant, more so than most teams, because of the narrative that exists about them, because of the history of them being slow starters and fast finishers and what the defense has to do. I think it's possible. They have a big opportunity in front of themselves, and a very important one that they have emphasized, and we'll see how they do. That's the fun of it. We get to talk about games now. That's much better than what we've been doing. And I'm very happy about that. Mo, I will be with you Tuesday afternoon, every Tuesday at Oakley Greens from 3 to 4. You're on from 3 to 6 up there. Looking forward to that. We'll have that cooking all season. And of course, you'll be continuing to be here for us every single week. And next week, we'll be breaking down whatever went down in Cleveland. I'm excited.
I can't wait.
Cannot wait. It's going to be great. Thanks, Mo. Appreciate it, buddy.
Guys. See you.
Let's get into superlatives here. Okay, let's talk a little bit about just a few of the superlatives that we see for this team this season. I'm going to start with this one. One that I like to ask players and talk about in the locker room as you talk about who the breakout stars could be. First Pro Bowler. Now, I think the Pro Bowl is a complete sham, as anybody that listens to the show knows by now. I hate it, but I'm using it as a point to draw the line in the sand here. Who will go to their first Pro Bowl this year? Burrow, Chase, Hendrickson off the table as previous Pro Bowlers, the only ones on this team for the Bengals. What do you think?
Well, I think probably what you think based on the story you wrote this morning. So I'm gonna pivot away. I'm gonna go, and this might be surprising. I'm gonna go Amarius Mims.
Okay.
We've seen this in the past where rookies, second-year guys, it's hard to become a Pro Bowler because you have to get established. You have to have the name recognition. I think Amarius Mims is a first-round pick. As the national narrative around this team and the struggles to protect Joe Burrow, and if the sack numbers go way down this year, That's going to look really good for Amarius. The other thing is this. Last year, there were 17 guys that had double-digit sacks in the league. You take Trey out because Amarius isn't going to have to go against Trey. Of the other 16, the Bengals are going to face 12 of them this year. They are going to face, this is insane, they are going to face 6 of them in the first 4 weeks.
Wow.
Because Myles Garrett, Trayvon Walker, weeks 1 and 2. Then you go Minnesota, Jonathan Greenard, Andrew Van Ginkel. 2 Vikings did it last year. Denver, week 4. Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper. 2 Broncos did it last year. Then you get a break in week 5 because Aiden Hutchinson got hurt last year and couldn't get to double digits.
Oh, don't worry. Just Aiden Hutchinson's your break.
Yes. Then you come back with Micah Parsons against Green Bay in week 6, TJ Watt in week 7, and Will McDonald IV for the Jets in week 8. 9 of the 16 guys that had double-digit sacks last year, the Bengals will see in the first half of the season. Amarius Mims really has a chance to make a name for himself early this year.
There's no doubt. I mean, if you can see, and Orlando Brown too. I mean, that's just it. I mean, you invested in these guys with top picks, with big money. Orlando was playing great last year before he got hurt for this reason, to be able to go out there and if they can keep Joe clean, certainly it changes everything. We've got a little Amarius Mims clip we can play for people here, right?
Yeah,
let's do it.
We brought Amarius here because we had big visions for the type of player that he could become in this league, and there's been nothing during his time here that would suggest that he won't ultimately get there. And so those are the expectations we have for him. They're plain. We talk about it. We don't shy away from it. I don't think he shies away from it. But that being said, it's about consistency, just going out and performing, practice in, practice out, game in, game out. All the coach speak, that I could say in that situation, but it's true. And we love Amarius. We think the world of him, and I think he's going to really take the next step this year.
Offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher there talking about Amarius Mims, and I think that's kind of the way they feel. I mean, he's got the opportunity to prove himself, and he's perfectly in position to do it. For me, I'm going to go with Chase Brown. I did tip my hand. First of all, I've tipped my hand a lot.
Yeah, true.
I mean, I can't stop talking about it. I had to write the deep dive on it. Go check that out on The Athletic. It's up there today. Talk to him about what motivates him. What is it? Everywhere you talk to anyone about Chase Brown, they just talk about this rare motivation, even by NFL standards, where everyone has some sort of special competitive drive in order to make it to this level. He has something that just stands above the rest. And spent some time talk to him about like where that comes from. He talks about, being a young kid in Canada, and that felt like sort of the impossible dream, like to make the NFL. He always wanted to. And he feels like every day his motivation is proving to that young kid in Canada that he can be a dude, that he can be the reason that a team succeeds. He can be one of the great players in this league, and he's becoming it. And whatever it is that is causing that drive is special, because it has helped him take a different step every single year of his career. And the Bengals saw a new one coming, so they decided to build around it. A lot more details on that. You've heard me talk about that before. I think it's going to be a breakout year for him, and he could be one of the best backs in this league. Dan Pitcher has called him a guy, a top 10 back. So he'd be everything that Austin Eckler was and more when Eckler's name was brought up to him before, to Jory Epstein, USA Today. I asked him again about all the things he said about Chase Brown and sort of that motivation. This is what Pitcher had to say.
You've had some very big things to say about Chase Brown, and I think your expectations are obviously insanely high for him. What is it? He sounds obsessively motivated to have got to this point. Like there's some drive in him that a lot of players don't have. Do you have an example of when you first noticed that in him, and maybe things that you've seen that are just maybe set him apart to be a little bit different, to rise from 5th round pick to where you view him as now?
Yeah, I mean, he's just a guy, like there are guys that it just becomes just how they carry themselves, how the look in their eye when you talk to them. how you see them go about their day in the building, it just becomes apparent very, very early that like this guy's obsessive about his preparation. There's something motivating him that's unusual, even at this level of highly, highly motivated people. And I would put him in that bucket. And so he'd be a better person to answer that question as to what that is. But I can attest to the fact that it's there. And just his willingness and relentlessness to work in different areas of his game, catching the football, running routes, pass protecting. Everybody knows how big a part of playing running back that is for us here. And it's if you want to be the one who's on the field for the bulk of early downs, you got to be able to block a nickel off the edge, block a Mike in the B gap. Like, we know that, and so he's taken that and really taken it to heart, and it's not perfect, but he's shown us that he can do it. And so, yeah, I mean, like you said, I've said a lot of really good things about him, and I've met everyone, and I'll say him again. Like, he's a big part of what we're going to do here, and couldn't be happier with where we are at that spot.
You liked him there, but in camp we've seen him running the routes outside.
Sure.
He's been very effective. Has that even opened your eyes a little bit more?
Yeah.
Is that another chapter to that book?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. Again, a lot's going to be predicated on what are the matchups we think we can create, and how do we allocate the opportunities to get our players the football. So some weeks maybe more than others that will come up, but certainly he's shown that he's worthy of usage in that role.
I'll just keep beating the drum on Chase Brown. It really feels like when we talk about the Bengals offense going from top 5, one of the best to the best to one to the type of offense that can lead you to a championship, that difference is their ability to get even more out of Chase Brown and Chase Brown's usage this year, because everything else is kind of the same. And that's a good thing. But, everything else is kind of the same and in place. Chase Brown is the one that has the elevation ability where all of a sudden defensive coordinators just have no clue what to do. And I think that can be the game changer potentially for this year, and certainly could get him in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, and people are listening to our drum beating because every fantasy draft I've been in, that guy has been drafted way higher than I think I expected, a lot of people expected. If they never signed Zach Moss last year, this probably would have happened sooner. But just the way last year played out, and the table is set this year. Even on an offense where there's a lot of stars and only one ball to go around, expect a huge year for that guy.
No doubt. All right, let's go from a rookie from 2023, a 5th-round pick that comes on the scene, to who's going to be the rookie of the year this year for the Cincinnati Bengals. Jay, who you got?
So I'm buying Dylan Fairchild, but I can't pick him as rookie of the year. I don't think he's going to be enough of a difference maker. Even if he plays really well for a rookie, I just can't see him being in that conversation. I think it has to be Shamar Stewart. Just everything we've seen from him has been impressive, and you take into account the slow start, and so you just feel like it's only going to get better as the season goes. It's only going to get better with Trey Hendricks on the opposite side. We haven't seen that much yet. So I think it's all setting up for him. Maybe not rookie of the year in the eyes of voters around the league, because I don't know where those sack numbers are going to land, but the pressures, the difference making that he can bring to that pass rush, just the dynamic, explosive plays here and there. I think I don't want to say no brainer because I don't know which direction you're going to go, but I think he has to be the choice.
Yeah. I mean, if things go well, he's the choice. I think you could make a case for Demetrius Knight here. Who knows? Maybe Jalen Rivers is somebody you end up making. Things would have really gone well if Jalen Rivers ends up winning this, or really badly. I don't know which one that is. But I just think if this defense is going to become something, he's going to have to be a pretty immediate impact. And so he would be my bet on it too. I think we've seen enough to suggest that it can happen. I'm going to judge him by havoc, the havoc stat that we've talked about. Some kind of disruption, whether it's pressures, batted passes are going to be a big thing with him. Can he force fumbles? Can he get some tackles for losses? Is he just the menace. Is he the menace? Does he live up to his nickname? He needs to be that for this defense to take it. I think he has enough of it that he will be more impactful than the other two. But yeah, Dylan Fairchild, I mean, obviously, maybe more important than Shamar, arguably. Yeah. But I think Shamar has a chance because of his high ceiling and his skill set. Let's go X-Factor that can change the season. What do you got on X-Factor?
So I'm going to go. I don't know if he could change the season, but I think he's got a big role that he's stepping into, and that's Noah Fant. A late addition, but he kind of fills that role, the Eric All role from last year. And we saw them kind of rework this offense, and so much of what they want to do with Chase Brown and the expectations for Chase Brown being better this year, running the ball more. A lot of that's going to come down to Noah Fant being on the field. And I thought it was really interesting yesterday when Dan Pitcher was talking about Noah Fant, and he said that there's things that he does really well that involve the ball in his hands, and there's things that he does that don't involve. And he said, I'm most excited about and been most impressed with. He's exceeded my expectations when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. And if they can get that, he's always been, pass catcher first. Yeah, he's a good blocker, but he's not that dual threat that Eric All was. If he can step into that role and be a dynamic blocker for this team and then do what tight ends do with Joe Burrow in the pass game, I think he can really slide into that X-Factor role. He's not going to be a Pro Bowler. He's not even going to come close to leading this team in any kind of statistical category, but he can be a difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, if he can give you 75% of the blocker that Eric All was, and then you get what you get from Noah Fant as an athlete in the passing game, you're cooking with gas here. I'll mark it down. Week 1, a tight end screen is going to have an impactful play to Noah Fant. I just we've seen it a little bit, and I just think that's the kind of another little extra thing to plant in the heads of opponents, because Noah Fant's so good, so athletic when he gets the ball in his hand and gets the head of steam. I think they love the idea of using some of that. For me, my X factor is going to be Cam Taylor-Britt. I just the whole dynamic of the secondary feels different if he can finally become a guy. Contract year Cam.
Yep.
Can you get contract year Cam? You know what? For one season, can you get that consistency? Can you get him in the right mental state? Can you get him to that level that when he's been good, and he has been for these long stretches, that he's can ride that out and make it a full, consistent season of some of his highs, which have been very, very high as they emphasize ball disruption. That's been such a big thing, a part of Cam's career. He's been a turnover guy. He's been able to make those big plays. Can he do that? Talking with Cam yesterday, and just kind of was curious to see what do we need to be looking for with Cam to know that he's in the right place. Is he in the right place? Let's see how he responds to this. Here's my conversation with a couple of others with Cam Taylor-Britt from yesterday. If you're in a good headspace and playing confident, how will we know on Sunday? What will we see?
He's gonna be turned, man. That's all you're gonna see. A lot of plays being made.
Is it talk? Are you talking at that point? Are you quiet? Or are you like, what's it gotta look like?
Man.
Yeah,
I see me having fun. I'm not worried about the talking. Talking got me in trouble. I'm gonna play ball. Put it on the floor. Simple as that.
Does football feel more fun now than it did maybe last year for you?
Yeah, I feel like it's my rookie year. When I ain't care about nothing else, and I just wanted to be the best me, and then worry about what everybody else said. To go out there and play football.
How do you do that? How have you managed to do that a little bit better, do you think?
These right here, block them out.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what everybody else say, because it don't matter. Y'all not going out there. I am. So that's how I kind of look at it. And I prepare, and I go and work hard for it. And I think I allowed that to kind of play into my game. And I didn't play my best ball.
These right here, he was talking to the microphones and recorders that were in front of him. These right here, I got to stop listening to those. I got to stop listening to everybody else. Stop getting in my head. The old praise and blame, they're all the same. Like, stop listening to all of that stuff and have fun. Be myself, not worry about anything. Just go and have fun. That suggests to me that Cam's in a good place. And now it can change quickly, but I think he's in a good place. And when he's in a good place, and he gets that confidence and that juice and having fun and creating some turnovers. You get a guy. You get what they're buying. And so right now, today, September 2nd, it feels like Cam Taylor-Britt's in a good place. If that can continue through January, I think they have a real game changer for their defense because it makes everything else fall into place so much better.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things I thought he said was talking got me in trouble. There's a self-awareness there that's refreshing, and I do wonder because that is kind of who he is, the juice, the energy, and everything. And so if he can tamp that part of it down, the trash talk, and just leave that part out of it, and just go out there and talk with his play, I think you'll see him get back to that where we thought he was going to be when we started seeing this kind of ascend before all the benchings and all the problems. And it is a contract year, and he's, I asked him about it. I don't know. I was away for a couple of weeks. I don't know if other people have been talking to him about it, but I asked him about it, and he's not concerned at all. And he's not a guy that's not going to tell you what he's thinking. And he really doesn't care about that part of it. He just wants to go out and play football and let everything else take care of itself.
Yeah, make plays. That's all you can do. Time now for Jay's Got Stats. I know you've got some good stats for me, Jay. What do we got?
So it's not breaking any ground, obviously, that the Bengals have struggled in season openers. Joe Burrow has struggled in season openers. But these numbers are, I even found them surprising. So since 2020, Burrow's rookie year, 33 quarterbacks with at least 70 pass attempts in season openers. 33 quarterbacks. Burrow ranks 31st in passer rating in week 1, 75.0. He ranks tied for 31st in yards per attempt, 5.9. Only Daniel Jones has more week 1 interceptions than Burrow's 5. Daniel Jones has 7 picks in week 1. So keep that in mind if you're betting on Indianapolis this week. 6 quarterbacks have fewer than Joe Burrow's 4 touchdowns in season openers. And those are guys like Tyrod Taylor, Teddy Bridgewater, Matt Ryan, who's been retired for years. His numbers in week 1 are crazy low anyhow. And then you look weeks 2 through 18, and he's struggled in weeks 2, 3. It's taken them a while to get rolling. But you look at everything, weeks 2 through 18, there's 32 quarterbacks that have had at least 1,000 attempts since 2020. Burrow, first completion percentage, 69.0. Third in passer rating, 103.1, trailing only Brock Purdy and Aaron Rodgers. Only 3 quarterbacks have a higher yards per attempt than him: Purdy, Jimmy G, and Lamar. Only Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes have more touchdown passes than Burrow's 136. He's in the bottom 3 in all the categories in week 1, and he's in the top 3 in all the categories in weeks 2 through 18.
There's one stat that you didn't include in there, Jay.
Okay.
5. Number of drives in the preseason.
Yeah.
That Joe Burrow had this year,
Mm-hmm.
which he previously has not had. Taking it seriously, his idea being that can go a long way to fixing what you just talked about. That's why he's wanted to do it. That's why he's has a top priority for him. And it's been frustrating that he's had all of these August injuries because he has come out very rusty in week 1. And the hope being that those preseason games and him running around like a crazy person, making everybody lose their minds and pee their pants because of what he was doing in Washington, will help make it so, it's not so bad in week 1. All right, Jay, do you got some trivia for me here?
I do.
All right, I'm ready.
You're not going to get it. Nobody's going to get it, but that just makes it fun. Okay.
Okay.
So I looked. Season opener, week 1. Since 1970, there have been 142 pick sixes in week 1. How many teams have yet to? This is just the first part of this. How many teams have yet to record a week 1 pick six?
How many teams have yet to record a week 1 pick six?
Yes.
1.
Yep. The and one Cincinnati Bengals have never done it.
You said no one was going to get it.
No.
That
That kind of leads into the question. So,
you're just setting me up for the fall.
The Bengals have had a pick six in every other week of this. They've had them in week 2. They've had them in week 3. They've had them in week 4. They've had them in week 18. We've only had week 18 since 2021. The question is, who owns the only week 18 pick six in Bengals history?
Oh my God.
And it came before 2021.
It did?
In 1993, there were 2 buys. So there was a week 18.
Wow. 1993?
Yep.
Alfred Williams.
No.
Um,
I'm telling you, no one's going to get it.
no one's going to get it?
I'd be stunned. I bet I could stump Skinny with this. I'll have to ask him before he watches this program because you can never stump Skinny.
1993. Huh. I don't know. I can't think of one. Who is it?
Michael Brim.
Mike Brim. 43 was his number. I give you that.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
He played 3 seasons. That was his first season with the Bengals. Week 8, they were playing the Saints. The Saints actually had a chance to go to the playoffs that year, and the Bengals beat them in that Week 18 game, if I remember right. And that Mike Brim, the only Week 18. But I thought that was amazing too. That the Bengals are the only team without a pick six in a season opener.
Amazing.
Could that change on Sunday?
Wow. We'll see. I mean, if anybody's going to give it to him, it's going to be Joseph Flacco. There's no doubt about that. All right. Bengals Growler Bet for this weekend. The Growler Bet is back. We've handed out some preseason goodies thanks to Trey Hendrickson and his black jersey that he was the Bengals tweeted about. So congratulations to the winners that we've had thus far. We're back, but it's week 1. Okay. We're not here to make it easy on you. This has got to be harder. You can't just be I can't just be giving away ice cream all year. I'd love to. Maybe I will. But I want you to earn it. You gotta prove that you can earn it this year, people. So this year, what are we gonna do? Let's do sack percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. Joe Burrow's sack percentage. Dropbacks divided by sacks. So if you think he's going to drop back 8 times and get sacked 4, 50% is your answer. If you think he's going to drop back 45 times and get sacked 0%, 0% is your answer. Maybe there's some optimists out there that think Joe's going to just have the cleanest game of his life. Mason Graham and Myles Garrett and company are just going to be just rendered useless against this wall in front of him. You can guess what you think the sack percentage will be. We don't need a decimal. Just give me 17, 35, 5, 50. We'll round. Okay. But you got to hit the number. No buffers. All right. Week 1. No buffers in week 1.
Yeah.
If I struggle to give some ice cream away, we'll get there. And we'll have the graders flowing, the 6-pack shipper showing up on your front porch soon enough. But for now, you got to earn it. Jay, what do you got?
We don't need decimals, but I think we do need a tiebreaker because I feel a lot of people could be optimistic and just go 0.
Okay.
So maybe the tiebreaker
time of first sack,
or if it's 0, there won't be one if you go 0 percentage. So would just dropbacks.
Total dropbacks.
Yeah.
Total Joe Burrow dropbacks. I like that. Total Joe Burrow dropbacks as your tiebreaker. So we need a percentage and total dropbacks. Jay, what do you got?
I am not going 0. I am gonna go. I've 10 or 11 feels right. I'll go 11. It feels like 33 dropbacks and 3 sacks feels about right for me.
All right. I think we could see him up approaching the 40 number of dropbacks. So I'll say he drops back 38 times and has 3 sacks for 13% is going to be my number. That's where I'm going to go with it. All right. Let's see. We've checked all of our boxes. We've done trivia, stats, and bet. It's Arby's time, Jay. You got some Arby's for me?
I do. I've been away for so long that it was weird where, you go on vacation and you're not really working, but you're still plugged in and you see things happen. The amount of lag time from when Trey Hendrickson signed till I found out was staggering. The amount of lag time to them signing Dalton Reisner to when I found out was staggering. It was just our sleep patterns were off. Everything was off. There was times where the phone was just not even in the room with me or with us. And it was really weird. It was in some ways it was kind of nice to just be totally unplugged like that. But there's also that angsty itch where I know I didn't need to write. James had everything covered, but it's like, holy, he signed when? How long have I been asleep? I mean, so it was a really weird week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm glad everything's going well with Nikki now. And yes, I'm very happy to be back. And it was a weird feeling, but I'm glad it's over.
Well, we're glad to have you back too. And no more lag time, I guess. Now you're on top of it. Now there's no excuses anymore.
No
excuses. I have this. You might have total lag time on this. You might not even know this happened. This came to my attention. It was they had the Taste of the Bengals last week, which is where, a bunch of fans pay to come up, and there's a bunch of the best restaurants in the city. They make special little sampler things, and everybody kind of shows up. A bunch of the Bengals players and coaches will be there wandering around, but a lot of them go up. There's sort of a upstairs or a different level where they set up the players to sign autographs for people that are able to go over there and do some autographs and photos or whatever. Joe Burrow goes over there, sets up, and, kids are coming through and they ask him for autographs, and Joe's takes up the photo. Most people come up and get a photo with Joe, and he kind of leans in, and they kind of lean in and smile and go about their separate ways. There was this one kid who, when it was like, okay, smile or whatever, he leans in and gives an absolute bear hug to Joe Burrow and pulls off potentially the most adorable photo in the history of Paycor Stadium. I mean, Joe leans in, he gives a signature Joe smile like he's in an aloe photo shoot. And this kid gives the bear hug around his neck and is giving these eyes. Shout out to the photographer. I don't even have the photographer's name in front of me. Let's see if it's on here. Nope, just says Bengals photo.
Might be Ryan Meyer. It's a good
Hopefully
chance it's
it is.
Ryan Meyer. Yes.
Whoever it is, I'm going to find out who it is. Photographer, Graders worthy shot, because I people like, Paul, but the kid. No, the kid has this photo.
Yeah,
that's going to be blown up into a poster and should be hanging in his room for the rest of his life. I don't care when he's 50, right? This photo should be blown up and hanging in for the rest of your life. What a great shot. And the most adorable photo that you could potentially ever see. So I just thought that was great. And it's at the front of the gallery if you're looking for it, from the Taste of the Bengals on the Bengals website, if you're looking for that. So great stuff. Love that. And the name isn't on here either. I asked, they don't have the name of this super cute kid. If you know the name, send it to us and we'll make sure he gets a shout out as well. So awesome stuff.
Does Joe Burrow really need a placard? They've got his name. What? Maybe it was just so he knew where he had to sit, but you don't need to identify that guy.
I don't think so. I like that he gets a placard. Yeah, exactly. This is who this is. Maybe some of his stats. Maybe his college on there. LSU, Athens. Just put it all on there. All right, Jay. Great to have you back. Great show. One of my favorites when we go all in. Shout out to Mo Egger, ESPN 1530, for coming in and joining us for a little while. We have our live show on Thursday. Hope to see you down there. We will start at 7:00. Come on down whenever. Get your seat. We will have drink specials, parlay boosts. We're giving away tickets to Bengals and Jags, a Burrow jersey, you name it. Free graders from our good friends at Graders. All kinds of stuff going to be going on down there. We got our friends from the media, Joe and Jeremy from Fox 19, Richard Skinner, Kelsey Conway, Mark Shalafoo, Charlie Goldsmith. Just going to be star-studded. Hope to see you guys there. We'll lead you right up to the start of Eagles Cowboys, and we'll hang out afterwards and watch the game, and you guys hopefully we'll be able to hang out and chat with some of y'all if you show up. So hope to see you there. And thanks everybody for listening and watching. Have a good one.